So your quartet is in existence for nearly 50 years. And I wanted to ask, how do you compare the challenges young quartets are facing these days as opposed to ones you were facing as the young Takács quartet?
Well, I mean, I remember our first couple of years, getting a system into motion that requires all kinds of various qualitative things as much as quantitative. So tensions are more, some people always questioning, would this work? How far can we push? How far are we able to go? Once everything's in motion, then one settles down, and mentally it's an easier process, and you can really concentrate on the music.
I think when I look at the situation today, it's on the one hand it's extremely positive because there's, I think, a tremendous number of very good young groups coming through, and that's exciting. And I think there's a lot of interest in young groups and a lot of ways of getting support, whether it's commissions, whether there's a lot of possibility of finding particular repertoire or ways of kind of presenting an interesting, unique identity as an ensemble. So I think that's all very positive. The thing I can't really comment on what it was like when, for Ondráš in that first group in the early years, but what we see from young groups is how difficult that kind of stage is after formal studies, the kind of 5 to 10 years when a group is sort of trying to balance life choices to do with like job security and salaries and like maybe the needs of spouses and partners and children and all these kind of things. They all are very important, and sometimes you hear a group that's immensely talented and they win a competition, and then a year later they're not together, and that's absolutely fine. I mean, those are choices. I think some of the groups that I admire, younger groups, are groups that really tough it out. They're willing to do it, maybe not for a tremendous amount of money. They're giving up more secure, more lucrative things just because they have a kind of it's a kind of a madness to play string quartets. It's like it's a real vocation, and you have to just love the process and the repertoire, and you give up a lot of other things in order to be able to do that, and that's not for everyone. And of course, in some ways maybe they're the sensible ones, but for those of us who really love it, I think that's the thing I notice with younger groups is sometimes there's you can sense a kind of a group identity and sense of perseverance and stamina, and to some degree that's maybe even more important than how they sound in the early stages. That kind of shared empathy and sense of the common goal, and then you look 10 years down the road and hopefully they're still together.
I think like even just in my own experience, I think the fear used to be, at least when I was a student, amongst groups that were forming, or my friends, or that this constant fear of are we unique enough? Is anyone going to notice us? Are we going to get lost? We're trying to make space for a young group. Like, is anyone going to notice us? Like, nobody knows who we are. That fear. Whereas these days, I think maybe fear isn't the right word, but part of the problem is, no matter what you do as a young group, there's a microphone in your face, and it's on Instagram, and it's on YouTube, and it's everywhere. And there's there's this tremendous pressure that you can't really learn on the job. You can't mess up. There's this fear that you have to be perfect, and everything is so public. there's no privacy anymore, and there's no space to learn. So I feel like those are I know this is a very simplistic way of answering a beautifully complex question, but the first thing that comes to mind is that just even within my own professional life, that's a huge difference. The difference between fearing that nobody knows who you are versus fearing that everybody knows who you are too soon.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Incredibly true, and I think it resonates with so many of our colleagues as well. It's definitely agree.
Spot on.
Spot
Yeah.
on.